Hi everyone, welcome along to this session on how to beat the backlog. Last time we looked at some of the resourcing use cases and improving our planning and mobilization of people. This time we're going to be looking at our revenue backlog alongside some of the insights that are generated out of delivery so that we can actually improve how we control and pull forward some of this revenue. So in this example, I've got a dashboard which is an amalgamation of various data points that I care about. So top left, I've got what revenue we've got forecast for this quarter, as well as my gross margin, and then what some of the trends are across Q1 and Q2 for this year. So we can see actually that margin's coming down a little bit, which means potentially we've got, some issues in delivery, which is manifesting in more cost for us. And then as we go down, we can also then see what's our in-period revenue and profitability looking like. So how much cost are we accruing in that period? I can also see that there's some variance in our T&M work because I've got my team here, I've got a forecast and an actual. So we can see that people are coming in pretty consistently under what we're forecasting. So potentially there's an issue in how we plan and execute that work. And then we can also see the trend in our achieve rate, which again is declining, which means that we're putting in more effort, which is eroding some of our margin and our achieve rate on projects. Now at the bottom, I don't want to be looking at my revenue in isolation. I want to be comparing what's happening with our revenue alongside what's going on in services delivery. So for example, here I can see how we're spending our time, right? Now, here, for example, we can see that 21% of our time has been going on rework. Now here we can see that the team is also spending some time productively, right, on biz dev. So this is helping me understand that actually there's some things going on here in delivery which we need to explore in more detail. I've got my launch time variance here, which is showing me the difference between what we're targeted on in terms of our launch time versus what we're achieving. So there's a pattern here within this cohort of projects, which means could mean a few things. Could mean that our target's wildly off, or indeed that there's some work to be done on pulling these projects back under control. It is telling me also that we're spending 7 days in kickoff, which is a little bit too long. We want to be there for a couple of days and then move into the design or the implementation phase. And so in our projects, our PMs are marking these insights inside of a project, which I'll show in a moment, that is showing us that perhaps our customers aren't quite as ready as they need to be. So there's some things that we can do there to help them get better prepped. Let's dive into this report. So these are all reports inside of Salesforce. This is showing me my launch time variance across different projects. So I've got down the left-hand side the projects. I've also got some of the health ratings. We can see that variance. And then actually here on the right-hand side, I've got my actual cost to ARR ratio, which is interesting. So that's showing me how much cost, what's it costing us in proportion to our ARR. Now I want to have a look at this project under PX here. So I'm going to drop into this project. Here I have my revenue, right? So this is a fixed price project. And on the left-hand side, we've got our budget versus what we're actually doing on the right. This work is in progress. We can see the level of overrun and that as a proportion of the overall budget. And we can also see what our margin at completion will look like, which is, fortunately at the moment, actually a bit under what we budgeted, despite some of that additional time. I can then look at revenue by period. So for example, if we have a look at what's coming up in April, we can compare what we baselined this project at versus what we're going to be doing. Now this is based upon this project moving out. So if we go into the project plan for a moment, we can see here we've got the different tasks. We're due to finish late. The duration is now 105 days. Now this is telling me here that we've got the system build, which is overdue. We've got the user testing, which is coming up. And Denzel is telling us that we need a developer to support this data migration. So need to find a developer, potentially unstick this project and get us going again, or at least support what we're driving towards. So let's go ahead and do that for a moment. So I'm going to drop in a new template. So this project is templatized. We've now got our data migration template, which we're going to drop in, which automatically has these tasks that we need to undertake. There we go. So if we look at this in our project plan now, right, here's our project plan, and we can see, for example, let's have a look here. So our go live is actually next week. So this is pretty important that we get this development support kind of where we need it. Here's the data migration tasks that have been dropped in. Right now, we're going to need to add some effort to that and then find a developer. So let's go ahead and do that. So for example, for the integration mapping, I could put in an estimate here, or a dev could do that when we get them on it, but let's pop that in there. This is going to start this week, run to the end of the week, for example. And I'm also going to put in some effort for the data dictionary. There we go. That's going to follow on, right? So that's automatically creating that dependency for me, which is great. And then the data design, I'm also going to then put in 6 hours here, for example. Okay, cool. So let's see how that's translated into a resource request. Right, so here's our need for our developer. We've got the 4 hours. This week we've got the 8 hours next week, which is the combination of those two tasks. And this is my team. We've got the developer need here. So the resource manager can go ahead and find this. Now I'm just going to do this quickly inside the project. It's showing me that Sandra's available. She's got a mixture of skills there. Let's assign it to her. Drop back in here. Sandra's now been assigned, and what I'll do is I'll let excuse me, I'm going to let Denzel know, right, because it's related to this build work. I'm going to let him know that we've got Sandra on the case. There we go. So that's done. That's now in progress. Right, so this is helping us to progress this project forward and hopefully avoid us seeing any more delays, right? Now, what it's also going to mean though, right, is we're going to need to come in here and actually reforecast, because there's going to be some additional cost that's accrued to the project overall because we've added that developer in, which means that our profitability is going down, right? And our margin overall versus what we said at the start is going to be down from our initial target of 65%. So, you know, some changes there, but again, all in the aid of getting this work over the line and again, making sure that we're on track and we're better joining up services delivery with some of the financial discipline that we have in projects. Hope you enjoyed this.